Hi.
Welcome to the Sean Gunn panel.
Welcome. These lovely faces. Thank you so much for having me here.
Oh, our pleasure.
It's been wonderful. Vilnius is great, and Lithuania has been just beautiful. And thank you. Everyone has been lovely and friendly, and I appreciate it.
And good night. So we are here. We're going to talk scene stealers, right? Kirk of Gilmore.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And yeah, we're supposed to talk about stuff.
Okay.
And Kraglin of Guardians of the Galaxy. And certainly there is a microphone here set up. So if you have any questions, we can talk all day. We're good. But so if you have questions, please feel free to jump up, get in line on the microphone, and we'll take care of that. But let's start with this idea of scene stealing. You are really good at playing secondary characters who walk away with the show or the scene or right. I mean, you're in something like Guardians of the Galaxy. You're obviously you're not Pratt. You're not carrying the movie.
How dare you?
Right, and yet when people walk out, the first thing Pratt, whatever, but the first thing they say is, "Oh my God, Kraglin was so funny."
Well, I appreciate that. I am a character actor to the core. I have been my whole career. That's what I do. So hopefully, when I'm stealing a scene in general, it's my job to do so. I'm not stepping on the action that's going on. Otherwise, I'm not, putting my foot where it doesn't belong. Although, I don't know if you remember, but my wife also was giving me a hard time about stealing photos. She's like, you got to draw focus to yourself when you're taking a photo, don't you? So a little bit of it comes naturally, but yeah, it's like for a character like Kirk on Gilmore Girls, for example, it's kind of my job to be comic relief. So going in and stealing the scene is hopefully what I'm able to do.
Well, I mean, like with Kirk, do you guys all know Gilmore Girls? Right?
Some, that's good.
Yeah, no, I mean, MCU, whatever, but Gilmore Girls.
Yeah.
But with Gilmore Girls, it's like some of the only merch that you have, aside from the videos, the DVDs, whatever, are Kirk merch. I mean, a friend of mine, when I said, "Oh yes, I'm going to be interviewing Sean Gunn," she goes, "Oh my God, I've still got my A Film by Kirk T-shirt."
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah. That show struck a chord somehow. It seemed to last over the years, and I was very fortunate to play that character who was so well written and was well suited for me and for what I like to do as an actor. But yeah, I was like, he's a flashy character. He's supposed to come in and steal the scenes and then get out before you get too annoyed by him.
So did you work with the Palladinos on that, or?
Really, I worked with, it was the best kind of artistic collaboration because it happened through the scripts rather than through us talking to one another. I mean, because I came on as a small character and Amy liked what I did, and so she kept asking me back and started writing more to my skills, and so I would read the script and know what she wanted me to do, and I feel like we collaborated on the character that way without ever having to sit down and have a conversation about it, which is really the best kind of work.
So it feels good. I mean, it's like you're being seen, literally. I mean,
yes, exactly, yeah. And the best writers can do that. I mean, all of the great characters that we play, these scene-stealing characters, my brother James is a brilliant writer, and
we're going to get to him later.
And right, yeah, and Amy Sherman Palladino is a brilliant writer, and so it's not an accident that those characters are some of the most are the most well known that I've played in my careers because they were probably also the best on the page. So you get quite a boost from great words.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. And so are there scripts that you look at and you go, okay, yes, I'm going to do the job because I'm a working actor, but this is somebody who, I guess we put it this way. Are there roles that are, when you read them on the page, like Kirk later in later seasons, where you go, this is a Sean Gunn role, as opposed to this is a role that they've hired Sean Gunn to play? Does that make any sense?
Oh, gosh. I'm not sure exactly. No.
Well, that with the Paladinos or with your
Right.
brother, that they're writing to your strengths.
right,
They're going,
sure.
okay, I want Sean to play this character, and I'm
Right.
going to write it with him in mind, as opposed to saying, we're going to hire Sean to bring what Sean brings.
Right. Well, those roles are easier when they're written, because I have been fortunate enough that I'll have, and it's mostly those writers who will write specifically for me, because the Paladinos then in the future wrote me a part on Bunheads or on Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and they wrote it, and that is, Dan Palladino emailed me and said, "Are you available to do this?" And I said, "Yes, I'd love to." And then he said, "Okay, I'll write it with you in mind then." And that's the best. And my brother obviously writes for me as well from time to time. And those are the easiest roles to play, not just because they're suited to my skills, but also because it's so easy to, the shorthand for communication for what the creator is looking for from the performer is very easy. It's very easy to understand what it is that they want, or if they want something a little different from what I'm doing, they can explain it very easily. It's a harder process when you're auditioning for a role against other great actors, and the creators often think they know what they want, but they're open to having their minds changed. And it's a different, it's not a different muscle, but it's like you're exercising a different side of the muscle when I'm trying to get a role like that, which is still honestly the bulk of my career. I mean, sometimes people write roles for me, or I do things that I'm offered, but I also audition still frequently, and I'm always trying to participate in the best material I can and look for the best roles, and there's still a lot of work to be done as far as the craft part of the job.
And do you take classes still, or?
I haven't taken classes in a while. I have since I became a professional, but I haven't in a little bit, partially because I'm working a lot more, so I'm on set a lot more anyway. And nothing is better, nothing improves you as an actor more than just reps on set and being there and continuing to work on it. And also I'm auditioning enough that it's almost like a type of scene study when you're getting a lot of auditions. Because you're constantly trying to craft a scene with a new character. And so if you're doing that enough, for me, it doesn't exactly replace being in class, but I'm continuing to grow.
You're still doing the work.
Yes.
Even if it's not.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like the best, the most exciting thing about my career is the hopefully the possibility that I'm constantly improving. And so wanting to be better in my job and wanting the next role I play to be the most memorable, or at least the most well-crafted, well-received, what feels the fullest, that's my favorite thing about the work.
I think we have a question.
Great.
It's working. Since you were speaking about the roles and you did few of the motion capture, my mother especially loved your weasel for some reason.
She has great taste.
It's two-part questions maybe. Do you have a preference? Maybe you love motion capture or acting more, and what would be for you the key difference between playing those two different things, motion capture and acting yourself?
Yeah, good question. I feel, I've been acting and performing my whole life, so I think I would be lying if I didn't say that I like having my face on camera. I like being a live person, and a lot of my favorite roles are roles where I actually get to play an adult human who's my age and who looks like me, rather than playing some small creature or an alien of some kind. Even Kraglin's an alien, right? I do also like doing the motion capture, like with Weasel, or the motion reference with Rocket, which are different types of processes for how those characters are created. and video games, and you know, actors don't always get their choice of what it is that they're going to do next. You go where the work is, and so now in 2024, the work is in a lot of different types of places. You work in front of green screens. You know, you work with motion capture dots and balls on your body, and sometimes you work on stage and you're actually yourself, or and whatever it is, you know, the technical part of the work changes, but the center of the work remains the same, which is truthfully portraying a character to the best of your ability and making it fully realized. Oh. Thank you.
Hi, Sean. You are a very kind, heartful, and thoughtful person. So, and Yondu, in the movie of the Guardians of the Galaxy, he told you line, use your heart.
Yes.
So, how or did it hit you?
How did I use my heart? Is that the question?
How did you felt, and did it influence when you heard the line for the first time?
Yes.
Use your heart.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we're there, and that was one of the special things about shooting Guardians 3, was that we had all had this wealth of history between us as actors and as performers who had been there since the beginning or since the second movie, and I think one of the things we missed, and when I say we, I'm talking about, you know, my colleagues, but particularly Chris and Zoe and Karen and Pom and Dave, obviously, and others, but that Rooker wasn't there for the third movie was always there was a little bit of sadness to it. And there are lots of different ways in which the movie mirrored what the characters are feeling emotionally in the movie mirrored what we were feeling emotionally as people. And that is a perfect example of that. That when Rooker was on set, and it was like, oh my gosh, it was so joyful that day that he was there, and we hadn't seen him in a little bit. And of course, him saying "use your heart" was very very personal for me, and really, I felt it both as the performer and as the character, which is a gift, you know.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Speaking of things like Rocket and Weasel and all that, did you piss off James at some point when you were kids that he keeps putting you into these situations?
Well, I was like, what my first instinct with a question like that is how dare you? We're a performer. I'm an artiste with gravitas, and you know, he talks to me about whether or not I'm going to be right for a role, and we collaborate and all those things. But in the case of Weasel, I'm afraid maybe I did do something to piss him off at some point. I hope not. No, you know, I think that he knows. First of all, I'm flexible, which helped with Rocket. But yes, I have an old school mentality about performing. This sort of the show must go on, and you can do anything. And as a result, I don't have a lot of humility as an actor. I know that you got to do what the role calls for. And so I think I'm well suited to play some of those more crazy, odd characters. I think it's certainly true that a lot of actors wouldn't want to do that, wouldn't want to like be quite so ridiculous, or wouldn't know how to throw themselves into doing something so ridiculous. But I don't know. I find the ridiculous in everything I see. I mean, it's all ridiculous, right? I mean, just the fact that we're all here and we're dressed the way that we're dressed, and it's all there's something ridiculous about the human experience, no matter what. And so I think I'm I'm able to find that, and so sure, you know, a grown a weasel that's the size of a man, why not?
Absolutely, absolutely. But no, okay. So along those same lines, you know, if we talk about somebody like Pratt, who is, for lack of a better, movie star, right?
Sure.
And you are, as you said, character actor.
Yeah.
Do you find that, I mean, obviously, you know, more success would be good, but do you find that you get to play more different roles? And is that more fun for you? Because, I mean, it seems like Pratt plays Pratt. I mean, I'm not discounting his talent.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't comment about his career because I think his career is wonderful, and he's such a great actor and an even better human. But you're not wrong that I get a wider scope of things that I'm auditioning for, which can be a blessing and a curse, both. Sometimes it's a little too. It's like, you know, I think that when people are trying to cast me in something, sometimes it's like, oh, what is that guy exactly? Is he, you know, is he? I've heard people say, oh, well, he's a comedy guy. Like I only do comedy, which I never considered myself only being a comic actor, but my career has kind of gone that way for the most part. So sometimes it's a wide range, but that's also the fun of it. You know, I play villains and drug addicts and goofballs and people in hot dog suits and all kinds of things and weasels. So yeah, I get to play whatever you got.
What do you want to play?
Well, I hesitate to want anything in my career because as an actor, I've learned that once I want my career to go a certain way, it's probably going to go the other way. You know, something is going to divert whatever it is that I think I should be doing next somewhere else. So that's why I try to sort of stay out of it. But I do like, you know, aging is good for characters like me. It's not like, oh, I'm chasing my youth. I don't need to chase my youth. It's good that I'm going gray. It's good that I'm, you know, I look older than I looked 20 years ago, and I can play different types of characters. You know, I'm in the DC universe. I'm playing a new character there, and he's.
Can we talk about that?
I think we can. It hasn't been. It was rumored that I'm playing Maxwell Lord in the DC universe, and it hasn't been denied by anyone. So
we are all friends, right? We can all keep a secret.
So
it doesn't leave the room.
I can say that, you know, yeah. I think it's okay to say that if that were true, what a wonderful job that would be. It's great to play to play a character who's a little who has a little bit of age and experience on him. Because I do have a little bit of age and experience on me now. I've been doing it professionally for you know, over a quarter of a century, and so I do feel like I'm getting to a point where I want to show versatility, but also to show what sort of roles I can be doing as I age and as I go into the, you know, the second part of my career, or the third, however you divvy it up, the next part, you know.
Do you, I mean, if you were playing a character like Maxwell Lord.
Right. Hypothetically,
allegedly. Do you go back to the source material? Are you a comic book fan?
I go, anytime I work with my brother James, I go to him first. So we discuss the character in a little bit of, in detail before I'm going to play a character. And if there's source material that's relevant, he'll tell me what that is, and then yes, I will. So in the case of a character like Maxwell Lord, hypothetically, there's a lot of different types of source material for that character. It's not all relevant. He'll tell me what's relevant, and that's what I'll take a look at.
Okay, so
but I would not go into any more detail about it if it were true. No, go ahead. What were you going to say?
Well, but that's it. So you wouldn't necessarily like. Okay, so he says, read this. If this was something that we might
Yes.
do, but knowing that there's also this, you wouldn't look at this side of it and go, hey, you know what? There was this one thing over here because that's not your.
I could if I wanted to. It's not that it was. It's not that it's forbidden to me, but I don't. It's not really. I try to stick to what my gut is and compare it with what the direction is and try to sort of piece it together from there.
Okay. No, that makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. And you guys obviously have a very good working relationship and a very good personal. I mean, he officiated your wedding. Is that not?
Yes, that's correct. And I officiated his wedding.
Okay, so it's like a mutual officiation?
Yeah.
You're both ordained?
Yeah, we're officiation buddies. Yeah, we're both ordained, or were briefly at least.
At the time.
Yeah.
At the time. Okay, so that relationship then between actor and director obviously is based on trust. Mm-hmm. Understanding that, yes, you trust James implicitly, and I'm going to assume with the Palladinos, is it hard to develop a trust with a director, a new director?
It's always different. I mean, that's part of the job, right? Is that once you have your team together, you have to sometimes very quickly find a way to collaborate with one another creatively. You want everyone to be on board the same ship and make sure that the ship has a trustworthy captain and that it's going in the right direction. So if I'm working with a brand new director, you need to kind of figure that out as you go. Although it's a good thing that now I'm more used to being able to have those discussions beforehand. So if I'm up for a movie, I'll generally meet with and talk to the director before. It's not like when I was younger in my career when sometimes I just get casted something from a casting session and then you show up on set and got to make it work. That happens rarely for me anymore. Like, fortunately, I can at least talk about it with the director and get some sort of rapport for how they like to work.
Which is at this level of your career.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, you're never walking in blind. They still know, okay, this is Sean Gunn, and we at least have an understanding of who he is.
Yeah, I think, yes, I would say that that's true. That people, the creators know my resume. They know what I've done. Yeah.
Will a director ever say, hey, can you give us a little bit more Kirk?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't think I've had anybody do that. And I'm not sure how I would feel about it. It almost feels like, but I would know what they meant probably. So I don't know. If it's someone I don't know how I wouldn't like that in an audition, you know. Okay. But on set it would be a little different if it was like, okay, I know kind of what you're talking about.
Just pulling in that reference.
A little bit, yeah. Because every character has a kind of flavor to them, right? So yeah, there are things where I would be able to do it.
Great. So can you give us a little bit more? No. So all right, can you dish a little bit about say Gilmore Girls? Is there any stories that you can share?
Well, I loved doing Gilmore Girls. It was a very, it has such a warm. I don't ever want to. You don't want to ruin the experience for viewers, because it has such a warm place in people's hearts, and I love doing it. But it was a very difficult show to shoot. It was, yes, because there's so much dialogue. There's a rule, a sort of unwritten rule that most scripts are about a minute a page. So for a 42-minute television show, which is what Gilmore Girls was, you generally have about 40-page scripts. Well, our scripts averaged over 81 pages because the characters speak so fast, which means that we were shooting over 10 pages a day every single day, which is brutal. If you work in the entertainment industry, so we had long, tough days. which wasn't so bad for me because I had a smaller role. I got to get in there and be funny and get out. But it wasn't easy, but it also makes you closer. You feel like you've been through some sort of creative battle together, you know? And because of that, I think that we'll always feel close as a cast. I miss a lot of my colleagues from that show because I don't see them very often, but it's always wonderful when I do see them.
That's great. Oh, I think we have some questions.
Yeah.
Hello. So my question is, you mentioned that Kirk is like a character of like comedic relief. So how much room for improvisation did you have playing Kirk?
None.
None.
There's no I mean, seriously. I mean, you know, the improvisation would be anything I did physically. It would be body movements or things like that. But and I appreciate that. I came from the theater. I was trained as a theater performer before I started acting on film and in television. Amy Sherman Palladino writes her scripts very, very specifically. They have almost a theatrical cadence to them, like the rhythm and the pacing is like theater, and the words that she chooses are very, very precise. So everything you hear in Gilmore Girls is 100% verbatim as it was written on the page. We would never, if we missed a word, we would do it again. So it's like everything you ever hear on that show was written exactly as it was on the page. And you know, not every show is like that. But Guardians is mostly like that too. I mean, Guardians is pretty. We get room to improvise, but only after we have the original words. Once that's done and we have it on screen, then we have a little bit of license to play around and do some improvisation sometimes. In Guardians, but oftentimes, like my brother, just to go off on a tangent here for a second, my brother James will have an alternate script. So the actors are working off of the main script, and then on the day of shooting, he'll have his ad-libs that he likes, that he's written, on a separate sheet of paper, and then he will feed those to us from the monitor, so that you know, isn't exactly true improvisation. So even the lines that are sort of improvised are usually written beforehand by James, with a few exceptions, but for the most part, they're written.
Thank you very much. I have another question, if you don't mind.
Sure, go for it.
You've mentioned your brother. So were there ever cases where the line between professional and brotherly relationship was crossed when working together?
You know, we're pretty good about not doing that. We're not too, you know, there's 6 of us in my family, and he's the oldest and I'm the youngest. So the older brother, younger brother relationship is already very much like there's a little bit of a boss-employee relationship there anyway. And so, no, I mean, I think that there have been times that we've disagreed about things, but we kind of know the difference between disagreeing creatively, which colleagues will do, or disagreeing personally about something, which I don't think we would really bring that to work. So I think we you know, he's the easiest person in the world for me to work with, I would say that.
Nice. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hey, Sean. What is the most difficult thing that you've experienced in the years of acting as a film actor?
The most difficult thing?
Yes.
You know, to me, that's a great question, and thanks for asking it. To me, the most difficult thing was the period in my career between Gilmore Girls and Guardians, when I worked on certain things, but I sort of thought, oh, I've been on this television show, I've been a regular on this TV show, I've made it. And I'd been working a lot before Gilmore Girls. I'd been doing a lot of guest star roles, and I was working steadily. And then I did a TV series, and I thought I'll just keep working. But instead, I had a couple of years. You know, I did a little show right away after Gilmore Girls, and then I had about 2 years of almost nothing, where I felt like my career just evaporated. And it's a good reminder for anyone that you'd never, it's nobody's career trajectory is like this. It's always going to have these parts of it. And yeah, I had thought that I was doing really well in my career, and then all of a sudden I hit a period where I sort of lost everything. Yeah, where it just dropped. And it was a reminder. It was then that I went back to class, and I started to, and I realized that I had gotten a little bit lazier than I should have, and a little bit I had been making it about my career instead of about the work and about the craft, and I had to kind of reassess and rebuild and get back to improving, and then Guardians kind of fell from the sky because my brother got this job and we worked together a lot, and we got back on track. But yeah, it was tough there for a couple of years.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, I wanted to say that in a show that's about a mother and a daughter, my favorite character is Kirk, so thank you for that.
Thank you.
And I wanted to ask, how do
You have great taste too, by the way. Go on.
I know. I want to ask, how do you think Kirk would have dealt with the COVID pandemic when most of his 300 jobs became unavailable?
That's a good question. I would run it by the writers. I would love some assistance from Amy and Dan if they were here. But I bet that Kirk I think he would probably try to he'd get very despondent for a little while, probably would stay in the same pajamas for some time. But then he'd probably dust himself off and set up a camera and start podcasting live podcasting from his basement, and try to make the best of it, I think. I don't know. What do you think? Do you have a thought there?
I feel like his true passion was film, maybe. Well, I don't know. You probably know that better, but film seemed like he really liked to create that, and staying alone, not alone with Lulu, for a year at home. I think he would have.
Yeah.
Would have worked a lot on that. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, guys. First of all, let's make a round of applause for Sean for his belated birthday.
Thank you.
And my question is, your career is long, and during that period, have you ever encountered any roles that you weren't particularly fond or happy to play? And if so, how did you go around it? How did you make it still work for you?
That's a great question. There were certainly, I feel like it's more common that it would be a job that I didn't feel great about. I never loved doing commercials. I did them, and you have to, and there's no judgment against actors that do commercials. Like I said before, you go where the work is. But sometimes something about just being there to sell something didn't always feel the best. But the role, whatever the character is that I'm playing, I try to have fun and really enjoy. I always sort of have this test in my head that if I'm not having fun playing a character, then I have a pretty good idea that it's not working for the audience watching it. So I need to be having fun, even if it's a dramatic, emotional scene. There's even scenes where I'm crying, and you may not think it doesn't feel fun in the moment, but when the day is over and you know that it was just an expression, an artistic expression, it is fun. And so there's always, I have to find a way to make the character fun, otherwise I'm not doing my job. Thank you.
Hello, Sean.
Hello.
Big fan. Since you acted with a couple wrestler-turned actors like John and Dave, my question is, which one is a preferable scene partner?
Oh.
And follow up, do you miss pets from the Dave like like from that behind-the-scenes picture where we see you getting as a rocket pets on a head from the Dave.
Do I miss that? Is that was it?
Do you miss that? Like you dream about?
I miss Dave. Oh, I don't dream about it at night, but I do miss Dave. I haven't seen Dave in too long. If you're asking me to choose who I prefer as a scene partner between John Cena and Dave Bautista, I'm not going to do that because they're both dynamite, and it's amazing to me. First of all, they're both amazing people that I love dearly. I know Dave a lot better because we've worked together a lot more, but from what I've learned about John, he's just one of the most amazing people I've ever met as a person, separate from how talented he is. And yeah, you know, it's an interesting thing that people think of them as wrestlers turned actors, which there is so much more performance, like that. You know, wrestlers. There's such a strong element of performing that goes into being a professional wrestler, particularly at their level. You know, that it's not as big of a leap as you might imagine. You know, they're already doing a lot of the skills that it takes to be a great actor are necessary to be a great famous wrestler as well. Plus a lot more physical skills as well. But I'm less surprised when a wrestler is a good actor than when a musician or somebody else who does some other thing is, because it kind of seems to make sense to me. But they're both awesome, and I would work with either of them any day of the week.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Hello. Having worked in such fun sets like Guardians with really cool props, have you ever stolen anything from any set? And if yes, what was like the coolest thing you've stolen?
Okay.
Again, this doesn't leave the room.
Here, don't worry about it.
Well, I think I need to throw the question back on you guys. Like, what is it about con-goers that are so obsessed with stealing things? That question I get every single panel I do is, do I steal anything from set? And the answer is, no, I'm at work. I don't steal anything.
But when
particularly not from Disney. I'm afraid that if I'll get a poison dart in the neck if I'm trying to leave the, here's my dirty little secret. I steal socks from set. If the socks that my character is wearing are more comfortable than the socks I wore to set, I will wear those home and leave mine on my dressing room floor. That's about as far as I'll go. Otherwise, I'm too scared.
So, hi, Sean.
Hello.
I wanted to ask, what's on top of your professional and overall bucket list, if you have one?
Oh, bucket list. Yeah. Well, that kind of goes back to the question before about like I try not to like covet things. You know, being a professional actor is already filled with so much disappointment when you're up for a role that you don't get, which happens all the time. It's part of the job. I have to get used to it. But if I had a bucket list, I'm just setting myself up for even more disappointment if I don't get those things. So I try to be zen. You know this term. So to be sort of zen about it and just let whatever the roles are that are going to come to me, come to me. But you know, anything that feels right. When you play a character, when I play a character, certainly like Kirk, for example, and some other character like Kraglin took longer to build, but sometimes you play a character that it's like putting on your most comfortable t-shirt or your favorite pair of slippers, that when you start doing it, it's comfortable. And you know that those characters are gonna work. And you know that they're gonna really strike a chord with the audience. So any role that allows me to feel that way, that's always what I want the next role to be. Thanks.
Hi, Chen.
Hi.
Thanks a lot for your stories, and the vibe is just a lot of fun to listen to.
Oh, thank you.
Talking about the scene stealers, do you think about like AI as a stealer of, performance and some part of what's going on in the filmmaking industry. And I wanted to just ask you, do you feel like threatened, or do you keep your zen if you think about deepfakes, all this like privacy stuff? And what are the thoughts maybe in your environment? What are your colleagues saying?
Yeah. I feel like I have a little bit of concerns about how AI will affect our industry, but probably fewer concerns that I have about AI affecting the world in general and all industries. I mean, I feel like, yes, it's going to affect the entertainment industry, but it's also going to greatly affect healthcare and education and civics. And so I don't think that we're unique and that we're worried about how AI is going to affect our jobs. I think that it's rare to have a job where you're not worried about how AI is going to affect it. So I do have concerns, but for now, it's really only on the, AI can generate fake people to put as background and things like that. And it affects visual effects in some ways. But basic storytelling, I just think it's still a ways away from being better than a human. We're close to AI being able to write a mediocre or lousy script, but we're nowhere near close to AI being able to write a great script. We're not even in the vicinity. And so I think that humans are always going to carry the day. It's always about storytelling. It doesn't matter whether you're watching a drama or a comedy or a science fiction movie or a horror movie. It's always the story wins. And it's always about great storytelling. And I just am very confident that at least in my lifetime, we will continue to need humans to do that.
Oh, thank you so much. As a mediocre writer, I feel threatened now.
Thank you.
Hello, I have a kind of difficult question.
Step a little bit closer to the mic.
Okay. Hello, I have a kind of difficult question. How well can you whistle?
How well can I whistle? I'm okay. I get a lot of help from the audio effects team for Kraglin's whistle. I have maybe about the first second is mine, and then I let them take over.
So, do you think your whistle ability increased from the first Guardians of Galaxy movie or not?
It's about the same.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks.
So James didn't hire you for your whistling ability?
No, yeah, fortunately. Although it's funny, I think Rooker believes that he's doing all of the whistling for Yondu, not knowing that, no, they're kind of pulling it out and letting the effects team do their magic, and he's like, no, I'm doing it. That's all me. I'm a great whistler. All right, pal.
Now, okay, you just to go back, we're almost out of time. If there's any last questions, you're gonna want to get them in now. But you said that with like Guardians, James will give you impromptu lines, or after you get the scene down. Is that a point where you say, hey, I've got an idea, let's just roll one more time and let me do it? Or do you say, listen, what if I said X? I mean, how does that process work? For an improv?
Yeah, either of those things might happen. It doesn't happen a lot. I'm not usually trying to think of funny improv lines, but sometimes I do. And sometimes I'll say, he'll ask, wait, what's fun? Is it funnier to say it this way or this way? And I'll give my opinion or say, what if he said it like this? But sometimes I'll throw in it. I did ad-lib a bunch of jackasses standing in a circle line from the first movie. That one just came out of me, so I'm proud of that one. Nice. But normally they're his, yeah.
Do any of the other actors ever say anything that surprises you?
Oh, yeah. Chris is always coming up with funny improv lines. But honestly, most of them don't end up in the movie. Most of the stuff in the movie is if you read the script and then saw the movie, it's 95% in the script.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Great. That is our time. So Thank you guys very much for coming. Sean Gunn, thank you for being here.
Thank you all. It's been wonderful. Appreciate it.